Well, here we are. So, good morning, or good afternoon, or good evening for whenever you are watching this this video. So the lovely Sharon has agreed to join us from Kinder Pocock today, for our second instalment of our Accelerator Facebook Lives. So last week we went through the first 3 weeks of our Accelerator course, which is a 12-week content marketing course, whereby accountants learn the 12 principles of marketing and where to start and how to get stuff done. So this week we have Sharon with us. Thank you so much for joining, Sharon. Delightful to have you. And we're going to be discussing the next 3 weeks, which are brand, website, and design. I don't actually think in that order. Brand, design.
Not in that order. Yep.
So yeah, over to you, Karen.
Thank you. And I love that it is hard when you're starting to think of all these areas about the order. And it is really important to us at PF because it's important to you that they do go in order. So last week's sessions, we talked about, or the previous 3 sessions, audience, issues, and cornerstone. We do those first because if you don't know your audience and you don't know what their issues are, and you don't have a clear sense of who you are as a firm and how you do things, then there's no point moving to this next session that we're looking at today, where we've combined brand, design, and website. And the reason we do it in that order, after having looked at marketing for so long and worked with so many accountants, we found that, again, if you don't have a clear idea of what your brand is, then how do you get stuff designed? And if you're getting stuff designed, well, that's naturally going to lead you to the design of your website, amongst other things, but brand also flows in to your website. So we'll look at these 3, and we've asked Sharon to join us. I've known Sharon I was trying to think how long, I'm thinking like 6 or 7 years at least. Sharon?
Yeah, I think we met at either the 2nd or 3rd XeroCon when it was at Battersea.
Yeah. Or maybe even one before that. I think that it's one of these where Sharon has this kind of like, she's sort of known, in the industry. And I think, interestingly, I wanted to mention this because when I met Sharon for the first time, I have a vague memory of an event back in the event days where we were physically at this event, and Sharon was wearing, as she is now, something that was purple. And I remember having seen your brand on Twitter and some other social media and thinking, wow, that accountancy firm has their stuff together. They know what they're doing. They know their brand. They know their marketing. They probably don't even really need PF because they've got it sorted. And then I spoke, Sharon's shaking her head. Then I spoke to Sharon, and you were telling me, I don't know if you maybe not remember that specific time, but you were telling me that there were things that you wanted to work on as well.
Yeah, I think we've just evolved over the years, and I think when we moved online, we had a really lovely client web designer who said, you need a new website, and you need this done and that done, and we'll design your logo. And so that's where it all started, but we really didn't have a clue. And before that we had a logo, and before that I made one myself, which is, I think, the journey a lot of people go through. But I think we had a logo, we had the brand, it had purple in it, but didn't really have any strong, what's the word I'm looking for? No, like strong foundations around it, or like a real understanding of what the brand was, and our logo, and getting the team involved and all that stuff. Didn't have any of that stuff at all.
Right. Which is such an important message, because the first of the 3 we're going to talk about today is branding. And often when accountants look at branding, they think, okay, my name, my logo, my colors. And as you said, your journey is very similar to many other accounts' journey, which is a client designed the logo for us, or in some cases, a partner's friend's cousin's nephew threw it together in Microsoft Paint or something, and it's fine. And it's a logo. And really, does a logo even matter that much? We need to do marketing and all this carry on. And I think what is interesting, especially as Sharon being a client of PF and being in the Accelerator course multiple times, is she's one of these people who came to us with a brand already, and yet recognizing, as you said, that, oh, it's a whole lot more than a nice looking logo. So I suppose my first question is, what did you learn, and what have you learned over the years about branding, and how has that begun to affect what you understand about the Kinder Pocock brand?
Wow, how long have we got?
Yeah, I know. Like 6 hours would be good, Sharon, if you...
I think There's so much more than just the brand. I'm thinking about like the team buy-in, like all of the team are so proud of the brand. Like when we all wear our hoodies, it just looks amazing. But everybody's like even that our new girls were like, when am I getting my hoodie? And they're really excited and proud about it. And so you've got that kind of thing. Clients see buy-in and they're proud. Like things. I'm going to say things, if this is relevant, like we might have won an award, but and I've just put on social last night about it, and so many people have jumped on it, and clients, and so they're proud of us, and they're bought in and they're loyal, and that's lovely. But then you've got things like brand consistency. So we quite early on, we got our brand guidelines together, which was the fonts, the colours, the hex codes and all that stuff. So it's having all that consistency as well, and that it goes all the way through everything. So the walls in the office are, not all the walls, but feature walls are purple. You know, it's not just having a logo and having a name of your firm. There's so much more in the blogs. This is why, have we got all day? Everything has to complement and support. It's a two-way street, I think. Support the brand and the brand supports everything else and all that. It's like it's an integral part of everything. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yes, it absolutely does. And I want to pull out a couple of the things that you touched on and encourage you and anyone watching this, that this is what happens the more you begin to discover what branding is the deeper you get into it, the bigger deal you realize it is. And some of the words and phrases that came out from what you were sharing, Sharon, are feelings. You know, there's a sense of pride, there's a sense of ownership, there's the team. So how it's not just about the firm, but about the people in it, especially the new people. You mentioned content, so the words you use and the tone of voice and the style with which you do it. And you mentioned consistency, and I would also say persistence. So persisting in the same direction with what it is and who it is that you are, and really incorporating all of that so that a brand becomes really foundational to everything that you do. So one question I have is, as you learned that about brand, how did that begin to change the approach that you had personally and that the whole firm had towards marketing, and particularly content marketing?
Yes, so content marketing particularly, you could just put any old thing out there, but I think, again, the content that you're putting out there needs to be aligned with what your brand's saying. So we've done sessions with you on tone of voice and values and all that stuff, so that all links in. And I think at the moment I'm doing all the blogs, but now that we've got a bigger team and they're obviously more involved, then they also need to be either doing social posts or blogs or whatever content it is, but that all needs to be aligned to the brand as well. So it is really important to understand, like, what does your brand mean? What is it saying? What customers is it attracting? What team members is it attracting? And all of that stuff, so that so that it all joins together then. So yeah, you can't just have a logo and go, that's who we are. Yep. There's so much more to it.
Yeah, and there has to be a story behind it for these two reasons that you just shared, and thank you for bringing those up: team and clients. So your brand is attractive to a certain kind of client, and it's also attractive to a certain kind of team. So talk about what you've learned, partly from Accelerator, but from all the things that you've been doing marketing wise, about your audience and who you serve.
Yeah. So we are still working on that one, but I think, again, I'm going to mention They Ask You Answer. That is
plug for They Ask You Answer. Yep. If you haven't read the book, read the book.
Yeah. From doing the Accelerator, Karen, the first Accelerator that I did, it was essential homework. So I was making sure I was reading it ready for each session. And that completely changed the way we do blogs. And
just for those who haven't read it, what is the core of They Ask You Answer, and how did that help you?
Yes, so it's all about answering your clients' questions, and the fact that most potential, so for an accountancy firm, well, anybody really, most buyers, or 70% of buyers, I think it is, have made a decision online before they even contact you.
I think it's that every buyer has made 70% of their decision before they contact you. So rough, similar, yeah.
Yeah. So, and that was a real eye-opener. And the fact that you can build up this knowledge base of questions. So not only are we answering questions as they come in, but also, you know, and creating blogs. So we've got content and topics we can write blogs with, but also we've got those to give to people when they ask questions. But in terms of ideal clients and stuff, then we're making sure that we're asking questions that our target clients would want to be answered. So as an example, we've got a really lovely client, and they place children with foster carers, and foster carers themselves are not our ideal client. We're looking for, you know, businesses that are growing and, you know, big plans and stuff. But they asked us to do a fact sheet and a blog on the tax benefits, or, you know, how the tax system works for foster carers. So I did the blog, but I hid it on the website. So they're not particularly our ideal client. Like, we needed to do it for the client, but then we kind of hid it. But on the other hand, our Should I Buy an Electric Car blog is our most popular blog, and people call us asking for advice, and they email us. So that's more of, that would be great, wouldn't it, to have all the clients who could afford a Tesla.
Yes. Well, and I think you've touched on something very powerful here about your audience, and not just with content, but with your brand and your colors and your values and your team and all of these things. What you've touched on is the messages you put out there have to be for your ideal client only. And why is that so? Would you say that is so important, to only have messages that are appealing to one? And when I say one type of client, in your case, that might be several niches or industries or types of people. But why is that so important? And bearing in mind that a lot of accounts are fearful that if they appeal to one or a few, that they're not appealing to everybody else, and they're worried about that.
I think the biggest thing is there's enough clients to go round, so we don't need to be going after all of them. The other thing is we're specialists in certain areas. Like, we've done a whole series of blogs around Xero and why we love it, and why we think why we insist on you using it, and Xero health checks. I've just realized this is so unprofessional. My battery's running out, so
okay, no worries. That we're going with real life here. This is part of real branding, is saying, you know, we're real human people, and we don't have perfect batteries or computers or any of those things.
We're done. Sorry about that.
Good. No, you're all right.
Yeah. So got quick tangent. Ask me the question again, because I was on a flow then, and then I've lost it. So about clients,
the ideal client. So creating not just content, but website pages, even design. We'll talk about that, and messaging for your ideal client only, and why that is so important.
Absolutely. So definitely we can't be everything for everybody, and definitely there are enough enough clients out there that we don't need to go after all of them. But something else I was thinking about the other day, I was on another webinar about recruitment, and someone was worried about finding a role in this time as an accountant, and I said it's important that you look at the places so this applies to clients as well. Look at what that business is. So the accountancy firm that you're thinking of either working with or being a member of staff of, what are their values? Who are they? So one of our core values is act with happiness and love. And we talk about it all the time. But to a potential client or member of staff even, that could seem really fluffy and out there. So obviously they're not our ideal client. Or if we talk about tone of voice, we're not in any way stuffy. We're very down to earth and accessible, and that comes across in our blogs as well. Now, if you're a business owner that doesn't get that and wants an accountant that's very professional and uses all the jargon and all uses that voice, then that's we're putting them off, and that's good, because we want to. You know, our businesses, we're professional, we're trustworthy, but we do want to have really good relationships with clients and have a bit of fun, you know, be able to have a laugh and a joke with them, as well as doing the serious stuff. So if someone doesn't want that stuff, then all of our content blogs and branding and that stuff, that it'll put them off because they might think we're silly. We're not silly, but you know.
Yeah, they might think that, they might feel that. And what Sharon has pointed out here is that good marketing divides, and it is supposed to divide, and that is its job to divide. And the fear that accountants feel in, oh no, what if my marketing divides, is actually based in a wrong desire to appeal to everybody, which, as you've mentioned, literally nobody can do anyway. That's not possible on this earth because we're all so different. And I love your point that there is enough business for everybody. And just very quickly on that point, for this, you know, at the time of recording this, this particular year has been hard for many accountants, but I think you've actually found it the other way in terms of new clients coming to you. And what have they expressed to you as to what they found appealing about Kinder Pocock in one of the toughest times of people's lives?
Yeah, I think it's definitely, we're getting this from new clients and existing clients, actually, just how supportive we're being and how we're putting all the information out there and blogs out there and doing the mail shots regularly. We've done like more than one email in a day over this period because of guidance that's come out from the government, and doing live webinars. Would never have dreamt of doing that before COVID started, but they're all really, really grateful and appreciative that we're there, and one client said just the fact that you're open, and but also we're calling them. It's again, this all fits with our brand and our core values, that we're getting out there and we're being supportive and we're checking in with people and seeing how they are and giving the information at the right time, but again translating it so that it makes sense to them and it's not, you know, government and tax office jargon that they've got to fight through. So
that's it. And this comes back to your kind of core words that you've been sharing. So the words that I'm hearing are supportive and happiness and love. Do you mind sharing what your Kinder Pocock values are briefly?
Yeah, I should have got it. We've got a really lovely images and icons that PF have designed for us. So our core values: act with happiness and love, keep it simple. So that's obviously all about not doing the jargon stuff, and also processes. So you don't get like, you know, it's really easy to overcomplicate things. Act with happiness and love, keep it simple, do the right thing. We've got to remember them now. What else? How many is that? Keep
3.
it simple. That's really bad, isn't it?
No, do you know, actually, I think this is it's very real because I had the exact same thing when PF started working on defining our values and sharing them. And you need to repeat them literally word for word, and you need to use them often. And it's okay if you can't remember. I did a webinar one time where they asked me to rattle off these 6 values and I couldn't remember the 6th one. I just couldn't. But actually, in the last year, PF has also been focusing on those values. And we started this exercise in our team meet where every other week we go around as a team and you nominate or recognize somebody on the team for living out a PF value. And I've discovered that all of us, including me, can remember and memorize the values because we hear them every 2 weeks and we say, oh, I want to recognize Steph for living up to positivity value. I want to recognize Ashley for living up to opinion value. And after a while, it becomes part of you. So I just want to encourage you, but also everyone else who's working on their values, that if you can't remember them, it doesn't mean that they're not a real value, you know, like.
I feel really bad because I do know what they all are. So the other 2 are share knowledge. Oh, wonderful.
Hey, Steph for the win.
I'm going to say,
actually, I love this because the reason you had this designed by PF for you is so that you could have something that visually expressed these. And this is leading us nicely into design, which is the second of the 3rd areas we're looking at today. So what we've done is taken the brand discussion that we've been having with Sharon and her whole team. You know, this is not just Sharon, it's very important. And, you know, you guys worked, I'm presuming you worked on these 5 values together as a team as well.
We did. We had a whole day session and just really dug into them and then came out with these at the end. And then since the session, we've changed them slightly. So we didn't have do the right thing in there. And then something came up with a client and I was thinking, what none of our values are helping us with this. We're missing something. So that's all about being ethical and moral and all that stuff. So.
I love it. And I love that what the values are. We think of values as, well, they're rock solid and they're foundational. So once they're set, we can't change them. But what you've rightly recognized is that your values are meant to lead you day to day. One of the PF team said, we have a client who tends to refer to them as behaviors or actions. And I think that's also a good word to use, because you look at these behaviors and what you're doing as a team is saying, am I today being curious, sharing knowledge, doing the right thing, acting with happiness and love, and keeping it simple? And this visual that was designed is a representation of that in a quick, fast way, partly just to show it and share it. But talk about, as we move into design, this concept of design, talk about how this design has helped you and your team and your clients.
Yeah, I'm going to start by saying I tried to design something like this myself, because you, first of all, you designed the icons for us, and then I put it in Canva and I just couldn't do it. And oh, please, can you do this bit as well, please? So it's understanding, I think, where your limits are and where you need professionals.
Yes.
But we do talk about them all the time. And I think probably particularly relevant at the moment is, although we're doing all the good things at the moment, not all the clients value it. So
not all the clients value what?
All the good stuff, all the support that we're doing, and I'm going to say free stuff, but just being there and being supportive. So so in that we're living into this and doing the right thing and acting with happiness and love, and keeping things where you might be dragged down by perhaps a client that isn't valuing you. Actually, by doing this, we can you know, stay positive and stay strong, but all the time, like being curious is a huge one. We sort of use that every day. Like if a client asks us a question, say, or one of the team members, you know, we're asking questions, we're actually really thinking about what do they mean by that question. It's not just a yes or a no answer. It's actually what more could we help with them with, or what are they really getting at? What is it they really want help with? So
I love it. And I love what you've pointed out there is that first you had PF design the icons. So you thought, okay, fine, we know what our values are. Here's the icons, get those designed, all on brand. Yay, they're purple. They all fit with our logo and all of these things. And then you said you took it into Canva, and a lot of our clients do use Canva. It's a very easy app to use on desktop or your phone. And we do encourage accountants to use Canva and other things and be personally involved in your own marketing. I think Sharon is a good example of somebody who chooses to be personally involved, because there are times where you can't wait 5 days or 2 weeks or a month to have something properly, you know, maybe a 45-page PDF, you're getting that design, but you want to put something on social media or you want to just share it, and having something designed helped. So what went wrong or was difficult for you when you took these great icons, put them into Canva? Like, why was it not working for you in that case?
Yeah, I think I had an idea in my head of laying them all out really nicely, and I was doing it in a portrait style as well. But Canva's brilliant, but I didn't have the expertise to get them all laid out nicely. And we use Canva all the time. We do infographics in it, and like Karen says, social posts, and all of our blog banners I do in Canva. But I think you've got to know your own limitations. Every way I laid it out, it just didn't look right. I needed that professional eye and the professional design touch.
Yeah, and we encourage both of those. As we encourage you to be personally involved, and we encourage you to draw the line somewhere, because it's not a good use of your time to spend 3 hours or 4 hours or 6 days trying to be a graphic designer when that is not your role. What your role is to determine what these values are, look at the things that have been designed and say, is that on brand? Does that fit? And I just want to encourage all accountants to remember that marketing is meant to relieve your burdens. It is not meant to add to them. It is not, your personal involvement in marketing is not meant to weigh you down and exhaust you. We had a client who said they were spending upwards of 4 hours on a blog post, particularly choosing an image. And we said, listen, that's just a bad use of time for anybody. That's a bad use of time. Even if one of our graphic designers did that, you ought to be able to find it in 15, 20 minutes. And if you can't, then we need to come up with a solution to help save you that time so that you can pour those 4 hours into writing a blog post or recording a video that nobody else can do. And in that client's case, we ended up beginning to build a custom stock library for their firm and their branding, just some images they could choose from. And I think what you've got here is a nice hybrid, Sharon, where you do some, and then when you hit a certain point, you go, no, that's a PF thing, because they can be working on that while I work on only what I can do. So tell us about some of the design things that you and your team do yourselves in a good way.
Yeah, well, that's obviously subjective, isn't it? Whether we're doing it in a good way or
that
not.
you feel are a good way, that fit with your brand.
Blog banners. So we use, so we've got a stock of photos as well. We haven't for a while, but we every now and then we'll do a photo shoot, and we'll make sure that the photographer does images of, you know, a mouse on a hand on a calculator or a whatever, and or pointing at a screen. And we've got lots of images of the different apps we work with and photos of their branded stuff. So it's not just photos of the team. So we've got all of those that we can use and come back to. But then once you know what your style is, then Canva is really good actually with their images and photos. But I've got into a habit of finding a photo that's relevant in Canva, but then putting a purple wash over it. So that, I think that works.
I love that. And you know to do that because you know your brand well enough that when you look at the designed things that Kinder Pocock is putting out, you want it to all match and to fit. I love the idea of the purple wash. We do that for a lot of clients. Whatever the core color is, any stock image can have a wash over it and become Kinder Pococky. We always have this different one. You can PFify something or you Kinder Pocock it. Scroll up just a little bit, Steph. Let's look at one of these images, or down, whichever way. That one there. Okay, so that image, I think there's another one below it.
That's a Canva
These
image,
are stock images that you've just put the Kinder Pocock wash on. And you know, if you looked at the standard image, it would look very stocky, you know, and we have even talked about how you want to continue to move away from calculators and things like that, because you don't want to have the typical accounting-y image, but at least you're taking that first step by going, we've Kinder Pococked this. So it is not purely a stock image. It is now sort of a Kinder Pocock stock image. And that's a next step forward. And I'm sure you'll, you know, keep doing that as you think about the message that the image is getting across.
That one down below with the finger pointing, that is one of our photos. So there's a purple mouse.
You know, what's interesting is that one hit my eye as feeling less stocky. And this is a really important point. We have noticed ourselves personally, and I've read some research that shows that people can spot a real or a fake image miles away with subconsciously. They don't realize it. So looking at this one, my eye went, there's something real about this one. And then if you scroll up a little to the grant one, there's something that goes, I don't know. I don't know if that's for real. There's something about the font. There's something about the calculator and the way everything's placed. And we've experienced that at PF as well. And many of our clients have. And part of this is connected to things like Facebook ads. And Facebook knows that a real picture is more powerful than a stock picture almost every time, even if the quality isn't as strong, because the human eye and brain says, I don't think that's authentic. I don't think that's real. And they don't know they're thinking it. It's subconscious. And this is my point about branding and design. And now we'll move into talking about websites as well, because we happen to be on your website. But all of these three things integrate subconsciously. We have so many accountants that go, oh, you know, clients have never commented on our brand. And we're going, well, of course they haven't, because they work with you as people. They're not going to come up to you and go, listen, mate, you know, really appreciate everything you've done for us, but your logo's a little tired, you know, or whatever it is. Your clients are not going to do that. Your prospects are not going to do that. But what they are going to do is get a feeling from your logo, your brand, your colors, your purple, your values, from everything. And would you say that your prospects, Sharon, have even expressed that to you guys about what they have gleaned about Kinder Pocock?
They do, actually. They use words like, we really like the way that your blogs are written and the way you're talking to us. They really like the tone of voice, and they say, you're for me, you're what I've been looking for. So I think it does, yeah. And they like, because we do always ask, and quite often we do get people coming from Google searches, but they'll look at other accountants' websites, and ours is just more friendly and open, and they just, sometimes they can't put their finger on it, but they'll say they just really liked our website. So that's, yes, that's quite nice.
Yes, it is. And just go to the homepage real quick, Steph, because I know that Sharon and Sarah are both on the website breakthrough. And this is another thing that's come out of Accelerator. Sharon's been through Accelerator multiple times with the team, and other little mini sessions that we do, like the website breakthroughs. And we've been talking about the website, and just talk about how you feel about where the website is at and what you want it to do that you feel it's not doing right now.
Yeah, well, it's evolved. This is still the website that we had built probably in 2016, and we keep adding things onto it and tweaking it. So and we've got some, well, we're talking to you at the moment about you redoing our website, because what's happening is we're just adding things to it every time. So it has, I am conscious it's become a bit, the homepage probably, especially, we were talking about it with Ashley yesterday, it's a bit of a hodgepodge, and there's adding different bits to it. It's not like it's not one piece that's been designed anymore. It's like, oh, we need to put this in, and we need to put a video in, and we need to do that. So it does need an overhaul, I think.
Yeah, and I want to mention this to encourage anyone who's thinking either my website is spot on, it's everything I need, it's perfect, everything's grand, or my website is not so good and it needs changes. Like, no website is perfect. There's no website in the world that is maybe for like an hour, but then after that you change, your website changes, your business changes. So I want to encourage you, Sharon, but every other accountant, that your website is supposed to change. And the reason Sharon's looking at completely revamping her site is because you have done really well with what you had, but now it's feeling cobbled together and streamlined. And just talk a little bit about what you've learned from Accelerator and the website breakthrough and all that, about what a website is supposed to do that you maybe didn't realize before.
I think the biggest, most important thing is it's not a website for you, it's for your clients or potential clients. Doesn't matter what, because our About Kinder Pocock on the front was always about us, and it said about our awards, and it said about who we're partners with, like we're Zero Gold Champion partners and all that stuff. But clients don't care, so we're trying to make it more about what they're interested in. I think that's the biggest thing, and I guess that comes back to they ask you answer as well. It's all about the client and what they're getting from it. The other big thing is to keep it simple. So our services page, I think, I've tweaked it a bit, but that definitely needs an overhaul. Like, do we even need a services page? We're probably going to make that a how we work page instead, because people, I was talking to someone the other day, and the way that he was a potential client, I said, well, we're obviously going to do the boring stuff, we're going to do the accounts, and he's like, yeah. So exactly, they're coming, they expect you're going to do accounts and tax returns and payroll and bookkeeping, but it's the other fun stuff. So this had a lot more words on it on each section, and still there's too many things to click. There's too much going on. We need to really simplify.
I love what you pointed out there, though, is that this has already changed. So it's already better, but it could be better still. And what you're identifying there is a website is not a pretty templated thing that lists your services. Talk a little bit about what you've learned about the client journey and how that impacts your website.
Yeah, that's where to start.
Well, where do your clients start? That's where to start.
Yeah, and I think, honestly, we do obviously get referrals, but we get a lot of people coming to us through Google searches. So, but and then before that, a lot of our traffic is coming from social. So we do track with PF, we track
Mhm.
all of our analytics. So we've gone from, I think, February 19, I can't remember now. I think is it less than a year? We've gone from about 500.
Just about a year,
users.
just under a year. Mhm.
Yeah, so from about 500 users on our website a month to 4,000. So, and then we're looking at where are they coming from, how long are they staying on each page, which are our most successful blogs, and where they're coming from. So I guess because we're doing more on Facebook with our, we've got a COVID private Facebook page, then I think that's why we're getting a lot of traffic from Facebook. But interestingly, I think our potential customers are probably on Instagram. So, but anyway, you get all the analytics. People are coming to us either from specific posts we're putting out. So it might be our blog on electric cars. But again, that's our top performing blog. I think Google's now surfacing it all the time. So people are coming to us through organic Google searches, and then they're looking at the bit they want to, and then they're getting in touch with us. So generally they'll get in touch from our contact form, or they'll email or call us. And then like we were saying before, we've been doing free Zoom webinars every week, and when we could be out and about, we did a big cash flow event. So there's all sorts of ways that we can bring people in, and things like zero training as well. There are definitely, there's the free things, there's the little paid things, and then the bigger things. So, and that does tend to work as well.
Yeah, and that progression model, I'm glad you mentioned that. The progression model, maybe see if you can find that one, Steph, to share the image of. The progression model says that the buyer of an accountancy firm services doesn't necessarily come and be ready to buy on day one. And this is why it's so important on your website to, as Sharon has said, to have multiple things for people who aren't ready yet. And I know from what you've shared today and from previous conversations that a lot of your prospects say, I have read your blogs, maybe even for a long period of time. I think you told me about a prospect who said that they had initially connected with you, I think 3 years ago.
Well, they didn't even connect 3 years ago. They
Right.
found us 3 years ago, and I think they've been stalking us ever since. And they weren't ready. They've been doing stuff on their own, and they're now at a stage where they need support. So, yeah, they haven't even got in contact. But that's interesting.
Yes, such an important point. And so what Steph is sharing here, the PF progression model says the buyer of accountancy firm services does not leap from the nothing side straight to the longer term paid things, which is like your monthly retainer, your fixed fee. They tend to go through a longer period. We've even done the I'm like holding up my hand as if you can see this. We've held up the sections of this. The length of them is important. They tend to stay longer in the awareness stage, then a little less time in the free things stage, then the small paid things. And the biggest area that many accountants are missing is either the small paid things or the free things, because you're expecting people to become aware of you and then instantly book a meeting. And what you guys have seen is that people might take 3 years of lurking and watching and reading and never getting in touch. What have you learned about your buyer's journey, about what motivates them finally to get in touch, would you say?
I think it's when they've got a real need that they finally need support with. So and I guess I've done this a little bit with PF, like we managed so far on our own, like doing the things, and then we're like, oh, we need this stuff done, or like our core values and things. So I think it's people who might just tick along on their own in the background, and then they suddenly realize they need something. And to be honest, we're talking to people at the moment as well who are saying, with this difficult year, it's making them review everything. Right. So like I was talking to someone yesterday, and he said he's been with his accountant since he was at university because it was the family accountant, but why stay? So that's it. That made me think about our existing clients. Like, no, nothing's a given, is it?
No.
But, so they've reviewed everything. So they're reviewing their accountant as well, and they've realised that they want something more. And I wonder, with the content we're putting out there, is the message that we're putting out there is you can expect so much more from your accountant, and not just the year-end stuff.
Yeah.
So
and you're not only saying it, but you're showing it. So
Yeah.
you're saying you can expect more. And this is a really important point, because what you do well at Kinder Pocock is you don't have big messages on your website to say, expect more from your accountant. You simply show them that they need to by running the webinars and writing the blogs and giving away, you know, this free things category. You guys just give things away so much. Just very briefly, in connection with what the free things that you have on your website and in your marketing, what do you find happens the more stuff you give away, the more information that you give away?
With the right people, it's going to give them that much more reassurance and more trust in you. Mm-hmm. So I mentioned earlier, I put a post on Facebook about I don't like mentioning it, but it's relevant, I think, about our award. And all these people are commenting. I don't even know who they are, but they're all on our private Facebook page.
Right.
And they've all got value, and
yes.
they're all saying how much we've supported them. And I don't even recognise your name.
Right.
That's immense. And
yes.
that's powerful. And, you know, they may never come to us, but they may have a friend who needs something. So it's just, I don't think I'm answering your question, but just that kind of thing, and people lurking in the background, or what people are getting and what people need and what's going to trigger them to actually come and speak to you. This has been really interesting, like how many people are lurking and could come to you in the future.
Yes. No, I think you've
answered.
answered the question perfectly, because it is a mistake in marketing to think, I do this stuff, people come to me directly from this stuff, and then that particular thing works or not. And what the message that you're giving from even just these 3 areas of brand design and website is, you do a lot of things in a lot of areas for a long time, but you do them consistently in the same direction with the same values. And you do them being willing for some people to go, I'm not really into the happiness and love thing. That sounds a little touchy feely for me. I want a really staid accountant. I want lots of specifics and details and data, and I want to faff around with emotions. That's fine. You know, if that's where they're at, they need to find somebody else. Kinder Pocock will be a terrible accountant for them, because you will be focused on these emotions and feelings and the connection. So I remember when you first shared it with me, I think we were on a webinar, a session, and it was like you felt a little apologetic about it at the time, like, oh, happiness and love, can I say that? And what has moved you, would you say, from, oh, I don't know, to, yes, this is our value and this is what it is? What's moved you past the what will people think, would you say?
The team, when we went through the core values, the happiness and love was the one that they were most fully behind. And Kelly particularly, she's she's been the real powerful driver behind that, but we all really buy into it. So I think if it was just me putting core values together myself and worrying about what people would think, I might not have put it in because of all the things you've just said. And is it too fluffy and all that stuff? But it is who we are, and we do live into it, and people do respond to it. So I think you've just got to be true to you, really. So
and what you've said there, true to you and true to the whole team, because it isn't, especially in your case, and any accountancy firm that has a team, it's never just the owner, it's everybody, which brings us nicely full circle to the sort of final thing that I wanted to ask you about in terms of Accelerator, because you went through Accelerator yourself first, then you went through it with your whole team or some of your team. And I think this is the 3rd time that you're going through it. Is that fair? What made you go through it more times than once and with your team?
The first time, I think it was just me, and then the second and third time, the second time it was the whole team, because I got so much out of it the first time. And it's this whole they ask you answer thing, and getting the whole team buying into and taking note of clients' questions. So they're the ones on the front line, if you like, who are hearing the questions from the clients and are dealing with the situations that we then need to create content for. So the aim is, it is still a work in progress, that we've got a They Ask You Answer channel on Slack, and that when a client asks questions, we're meant to put it in there. And then we can kind of vote on it, or, lots of people have asked this, we need to do it, or then we can consider whether it's it fits with our message. And like the foster carer one, like actually we need to do it, but it
Yes.
wouldn't be one we'd necessarily do. And then this time that we've just done it now, I've got new team members, and 2 of them have got good marketing experience. So we're creating like a mini marketing team within Kinder Pocock. So that makes complete sense. And then one of our other new starters hasn't got marketing experience, but well, we might as well add you in as well, because it's a prize for the whole team.
Yeah.
So she's getting good experience. It's not as relevant for her, but she's understanding where we're coming from and what our drivers are and what our objectives are really. So she can then contribute, you know, maybe topics, or, you know, why don't you write this blog or put this social post out, or so it's having that. And Karen, you've always really enforced this, but not enforced is the wrong word, but it
Encouraged.
Encouraged, thanks so much, Greta. Getting the whole team involved.
Yes.
And then it's just easier. Like if one of them puts a blog together, I've just got to make it look nice on WordPress rather than me try and do it. So it's a massive help having them all do it. And we're all
I think your Kinder Pocock is a wonderful case study and story of how involving your team is so important, and you as the owner have bought into that and recognized the power of that. And I love what you just mentioned there is you've got one new team member who's very into marketing, has some marketing experience. It's very exciting for her to come on Accelerator, and the website breakthrough is like, yay, this is great. You've also got another team member who's not got that, and it might be tempting to go, oh, this won't be relevant for them. But what you've identified there is that the relevance is to see their small role as part of all the whole team's role in marketing, because marketing is a whole team, whole firm thing. So I suppose the final thing that I want to ask around that and with the team is, where do you think your marketing would suffer if you had never involved the team and you were doing all these things, but just on your own, just yourself with PF or your own?
It could possibly grind to a halt. The biggest thing is, I was going to mention as well, is blocking time out to do it. So Friday's my marketing day, but I've filtered it, yay. But even so, obviously things come along, especially with the year we've had, it doesn't get done. And there's that, it's having the time to do it all if there's only you, but also we can talk about it all, like we're talking about, you know, marketing campaigns leading up to Christmas and supporting small businesses. It's hard talking to yourself. So to get the whole team involved and bounce ideas off each other and all that stuff, and they understand the brand and the values and the tone of voice, it takes so much pressure off me. But it's the happy doesn't love thing again, isn't it? It's just really lovely that we're all in it together and it's not just on my shoulders, and that I can say, oh, look at this, and like Sarah's doing Instagram and Twitter and stuff. So it's, you know, I could just go, oh, why don't you do a post about this, and she'll do it. So that's, yeah, it's huge actually.
Yeah, and I love that has relieved the burden and stress from you by sharing it. You know, problem shared is a problem halved, or whatever that statement is. And in your case, a problem shared is a problem split into, how many team members do you have?
There's 7, including Kelly on maternity leave. So
yeah, well, let's include Kelly because she's still part of the team. Kelly. So 7. And so you've essentially split your marketing, shared your marketing, not split it, shared your marketing amongst all the team members, all the 7 plus yourself. And so you have, in a sense, 7 or 8 times as much marketing or contribution towards it, which is so powerful. Okay, last question for you is a good number of accountants, when they're considering Accelerator, they go, listen, it sounds really good. Everything you say sounds good, Sharon, and everybody else, but it sounds like a good bit of time, and it sounds like it might take a while, and I want to hurry. I want to do stuff fast. I'm a bit impatient. What would you share with them from what you've learned about how marketing works, and about, you know, the fact that when you sign up for Accelerator, sometimes you have to wait a little bit before it starts, and then you have to go through the whole course?
I think if you want to do it and you're serious about it, you've got to make the time. It isn't going to happen overnight. I feel like saying, do you want it or not? So it's hard.
But then bearing in mind, these people, they feel like they do, but maybe they feel a little scared or worried or afraid they're going to waste their money or time.
Yeah. So I think it's about committing and investing time and money. And I think definitely do the accelerator when you've got the time, because I know on the second accelerator that I did and the team were doing, it was on a different day, I think. And I did find it hard to commit. So I did miss some of them, but you're not going to get the value out of it if you don't do them all. But it's not just that hour a week, it's the homework. You've really got to you've got to do it at the right time for you, because there is there's not much point doing it if you're just going to turn up for the sessions and not do anything else.
Yeah, I think you can say whatever your experience is, but I mean, the whole point of Accelerator from our perspective is it's meant to be interactive and personal, and you get support.
Yeah.
Some people like yourself show up to every session and write blogs and do all this, and some people just barely manage to show up, and I would say either one of those is okay. But what you're expressing is this kind of, the more you put in, then the more you get out. But it sounds like you're saying not necessarily you start Accelerator and then 6 weeks later you have more leads than you can imagine.
Yeah, I agree. It takes time, and it's with anything, you've got to build it up. And even I don't understand completely how Google works and SEO and stuff, but I know that you've got to be consistent. You've got to keep showing up, and you've got to keep building it up. You can't, like, we've got our blogs are on our front page of our home page. If our last blog was dated like April or something, that just doesn't look very good, does it? So I guess it's being aware of the perception. But in terms of content anyway, I remember quite early on when we were working together, you said your analogy about the whitewater raft. Can you remember that one?
Yes.
You might
social
say
media.
it better than me. That really stuck with me. You can't, that's all about being committed and invested. And yes.
What was the analogy, the way you understood it?
Yeah, so I'll say it all wrong, I think, but like,
the way clearly it's helped you. So
really
you just share it as it came across to you.
Yeah, so if you imagine you're watching like whitewater rafting, and there are all the rafts going down a blue, and then suddenly a bright pink one will go down, and the first time you might go, oh yeah, great, and that's it then. And then, but suddenly, if the pink one keeps coming down, you're going to notice it every single time. So that, to me, that, with things like social posts and blogs, that really made sense, because you can't just sort of wave your hand once and then disappear. You've got to be consistent. You've got to keep showing up. And that really hit home to me. So it's the same with the accelerator. I think you've got to show up, haven't you?
Yes.
And yes, there'll be people that will just come along to the sessions or maybe miss them. I think you're going to learn with everything that you do, even any session that you join in on, or you might find ones are more relevant, but it's a rolling, it builds, like, you do the topics in a certain order, and there's a reason for that. But I really believe that it's worth committing and investing your time, money and energy into it, but allowing yourself time to do something with it as well, like write the blogs or improve your social posts and things like that.
Yeah, no, I think you've explained that analogy perfectly. The only thing I would change is it's a purple little boat that's going through, for Kinder Pocock. But you're right. Like the little boat, the little raft is different regardless. And you're seeing the purple one and the pink one and the blue one. But if you keep seeing the purple one and the purple one keeps showing up in a particular way, then you're going to engage with that. And as you've rightly said, it's the stackability over time. And that's what I think you have done well. That's why we're having this interview with you and with other Accelerator members, because the first time you did Accelerator was years ago. And you're still going through it and with the team, because it is a longer journey. So thank you so much for being here. We're going to wrap it up because, as you can tell, Sharon and I could talk all day long. Just a final one. What's the kind of number one thing about marketing that you would share with accountants, to those who are just thinking about it and wanting to do better at it?
I can comment. I would say embrace it and enjoy it. I think don't see it as a chore. I love doing marketing, and I try and block out Fridays, and it's the day I look forward to, so that I can do the blogs and do the social. Embrace it and enjoy it, and don't see it as a chore.
I love it. Thank you so much. We stand by that at PF. We want accountants to embrace and enjoy marketing and be personally involved in it so you can get the very best clients ever, which is what Kinder Pocock is doing. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Thank you, Sharon.
Thank you so much,
Steph.
Sharon.
Oh, thank you.
Bye.